Let me introduce myself. My name is Chad Davidson. I am a member of the ApplyBoard team here, and I am very pleased to welcome you all into our session today for the Learners and Earners campaigns, which features Trent University. So just a quick agenda for our call. So we'll quickly go over why international education drives high-paying careers. We'll talk about the in-demand skills across Canada, how ApplyBoard unlocks success for your students, and then we'll move into our school spotlight, which is with Trent University. So joining us today from Trent University is David Vanieri. David, if you want to unmute and say hello quickly.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. It's very nice to be here with you all, coming from Peterborough, Ontario, where it also got a lot of snow. So I'm excited to share a little bit more about Trent University with you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much, David. Moving on to why international education drives high-paying careers. Post-study work opportunities are a cornerstone of many students' decisions when choosing where to study. According to the Q3 2024 RP Pulse survey, post-study work options rank as the second highest priority for international students when selecting a study destination. Post-study work opportunities give students the chance to gain practical in-field experience, enhancing their resumes and positioning them for a long-term career success. This is experience that is crucial in a competitive global job market, allowing students to stand out. And then with Canada, we offer the post-graduation work permit, which offers a duration of 8 months to 3 years, depending on the length of the program. Canada faces a demand for business professionals, offering excellent job prospects and pathways to stay beyond your education. When it comes to labor market needs, Canada faces significant labor shortages in key sectors such as accommodation and food services, wholesale and retail trade, and professional, scientific, and technical services. These fields present strong employment opportunities for individuals. For top jobs for graduates, occupations like marketing manager, supply chain coordinator, and administrative officer offer strong career prospects with median salaries ranging from $60,000 to $80,000 Canadian. In Canada, post-study work opportunities are obtained through the postgraduate work permit and express entry programs. At ApplyBoard, there are 5 pillars for you to succeed in taking your students from learners to earners: reach, speed, expertise, convert, and one-stop shop. Let's take a look at each one. In terms of reach, ApplyBoard connects with you with over 1,500 partner institutions worldwide and over 140,000 programs. Our advanced filters, such as post-graduation work permit available tags, ensure students find programs aligned with their goals quickly and efficiently. In today's fast-paced environment, speed is crucial. ApplyBoard partners with institutions to deliver application decisions in as few as 2 business days. And we also offer Abby, your personal AI advisor, able to provide answers to questions on applications such as requirements and enhance efficiency for both you and your students. Expertise. Our insights are unmatched. With data drawn from our vast network of institutions and partners, stay ahead with updates on top programs, labor market trends, and policy changes. You can also tap into resources like our blogs, webinars, and newsletters for actionable knowledge. With a 95% application success rate, ApplyBoard ensures students are supported from pre-application to enrollment. Our quality assurance process matches students to institutions efficiently and effectively. And finally, our one-stop shop. From GICs to loans, language and test prep vouchers, ApplyBoard provides all the tools students need to succeed in one convenient place, reducing barriers to studying abroad. We offer discount test preparation vouchers. We partnered with financial institutions such as RBC and TD to provide GICs, streamlining visa processes for students heading to Canada. Our student loan services ensure fast and accessible funding, and we'll speak more on that in the next slide as well. A little bit more about the ApplyBoard student loans. One of the most significant challenges for international students is securing the financial resources they need to make their study abroad dreams a reality. At ApplyBoard, we simplified the process with our student loan services, tailored to meet students' unique needs from the moment a student starts their loan application to the disbursement stage. ApplyBoard provides a dedicated loan manager to provide them every step of to guide them every step of the way. We've partnered with top institutions and NBFCs to offer loans that require no guarantor or cosigner in many cases. Our system is designed for speed. Students can receive a tentative sanction letter within 30 minutes from 625 institutions, and full loan approvals can be processed in as little as 72 hours. And you can also benefit from referral bonuses such as a 1% referral fee on the first loan tranche. A win-win for everyone involved. And then from here, I'm going to pass it off to David to share his screen and talk all about Trent. So David, please.
Share this. Okay. So once again, thank you everybody for being here. Like I mentioned, my name is David Veneri. I'll do a quick introduction of myself in one slide, but I just wanted to first talk about some of the mission and values at Trent University. So we're starting to understand that students, with a lot of the IRCC changes that have happened, we're understanding that maybe the past 3 or 4 years when we've been working with students, they've been wanting something different from Canada and from Trent University. And what we've noticed is a lot of students want to join institutions like Trent University because we're very community focused, but we're also a global community. So I just got back from India, and I've been to a few other countries within the past 3 or 4 months, and we're starting to develop really good communities around the world, including in places like Nigeria and Ghana and Vietnam and India and so on. One of the things that we're doing as an institution is trying to develop that community a little bit more, because we're seeing that a lot of the students or the former students who have attended Trent University are very happy that they did so, and they're also quickly becoming some of our best recruiters. I see some names on this webinar that I've worked with in the past, or some names that I at least recognize, and it's always great to lean on people who have been successful at Trent University because they can always speak to the real value that students get at Trent. But yeah, without any further ado, let me just give a quick introduction. I was just checking the Q&A, so I already have a few messages. I'll be sure to get to those in a few minutes, but I want to introduce our international recruitment team. So Trent University has staff that are spread out around the world. This slide is actually a little bit outdated. We have 2 staff members currently in Latin America, both located in Mexico. We have staff members in West and East Africa and located in Ghana and Nairobi, Kenya, respectively. Cheatham is located in Turkey. She services the Eurasian market, so all of the stands, Turkey, and then parts of the Middle East as well. Shweta is located in Chandigarh in India, and she also services parts of the Middle East as well. Kelly is considered East Asia, but she focuses primarily on China. Elena, who's currently on mat leave for another few months, maternity leave, is located in Vietnam in Ho Chi Minh City. Yeah, Ho Chi Minh City, not Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh. And Javis is located in Indonesia. So this is our global team. They're all Trent University staff. They've been to the campus. They spent 2 weeks here in August 2024. Everybody on the call here or on this slide, you're always welcome to contact myself or my colleague Jasmine Lanuzzi. However, sometimes due to us being asleep in the time change, sometimes the international recruitment team is some of the best folks that you can talk to. They're all very well versed in Trent University, and they can help you through in any admission snags or help submit documents or clarify anything to do with Trent University. Like I mentioned, my name is David Veneri. I'm one of the international recruitment managers at Trent. I also mentioned Jasmine Lanuzzi. She's my colleague. She's located at our Durham campus, where I'm located at our Peterborough campus. But we both essentially do the same thing. So I service Africa, parts of the Middle East, as well as South and Southeast Asia, whereas Jasmine takes East Asia, Latin America, and then Eurasia as well. And then, of course, parts of the Middle East. So whether you contact me or you contact Jasmine or you contact one of the Trent University staff, there's always somebody here to support you. I'll do just a quick introduction of Canada. I know that most of you are probably familiar with Canada, but it's always good to give a refresher and kind of our perspective on Canada as a country. There's obviously been a lot of changes in the last few years. I just was on the road and I was speaking to many people who are a little bit uncertain about what Canada is right now. Maybe Chad can back me up on this, and I'm sure that a lot of the Canadians can speak to it. But Canada remains largely unchanged. Of course, there's been some immigration policy changes. One of the fortunate things about Trent University is it hasn't really affected our institution very much. In fact, it's allowed us to seek out a higher quality of international student. And what I mean by that is somebody who's willing to take a really good, interesting program at a well-ranking institution that will eventually get them to where they need to go. I understand that when we advise students, sometimes it can be a little bit confusing to explain the end goal and how particular institutions now can help students get there or not get there. So I always like to bring up Canada and just explain this to students that, of course, it's still a very high-ranking country. We have still amazing access to health services, an amazing education system, really great social services. And of course, we're very welcoming for international students. Part of the reputational hit that Canada has taken in the last year or so, in many ways, it can be argued that it was a little bit unfounded. There's a few isolated incidents that every institution is working to address. So we're just making sure that students are still aware that Canada is a very accepting country of all folks. And of course, we still want international students. Many of Canadians are migrants by nature. If you talk to most people in Canada, either their parents or their grandparents or their great grandparents are immigrants, making us first or second generation Canadians. For myself, my parents both immigrated to Canada when they were younger, so I'm a first generation Canadian. Canada is a country that it's built on immigration system, so we want to still encourage students to be a part of that, but of course, doing it the right way and making sure that we're making good, high quality students once they graduate our institutions. So Trent University has two campuses, and I'll explain very quickly where both of them are. Again, you're probably a little bit familiar with Trent University and where we're located, but we essentially have two campuses. We always do location in relation to Toronto because it's the biggest city in Canada. We have two campuses. Our first campus that I'll talk about is called our Durham Greater Toronto Area Campus, also known as Durham GTA. The city itself is called Oshawa. It's about 45 minutes away from the downtown core of Toronto, maybe a little bit longer than that in traffic, but there's also buses and trains that take you directly into the city. So there's a lot of really good mobility for students if they want to be close to Toronto, but not in the downtown core where things can be prohibitively expensive or unaffordable. The great thing about Trent University is we operate in two very good locations, but also two very affordable locations. And Durham GTA in particular is very rapidly expanding. It's one of the fastest growing communities in all of Canada. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But the next location is actually where I currently am in Peterborough, Ontario. Peterborough is home to about 100,000 people. So depending on where you're coming from in this webinar, that's probably a very small community, but in Canada, we consider it, and particularly in Ontario, we consider it a medium-sized city. So we have all the amenities you could possibly want, nightlife, access to public transit, concerts, performances, a really big, beautiful campus, and lots of access to housing and work opportunities as well. And so that's the value of being in a smaller community is there's essentially less people, so you're in less competition for all of those resources. Waiting in line at the grocery store, applying for positions. If you're looking for a part-time job, maybe you're just competing with 3 or 4 other people as opposed to 10 or 15 if you're in a larger city. So it's one of the nice things about being in a smaller city is that you get to know people very well, you're very networked. So both campuses have really good opportunities and where our location is really great. Of course, students always want to know how far Toronto is or if they can go into the city to see their friends. Absolutely, they can. We have a bus that comes directly onto campus that drives right to the GO train, which takes students right into the city for a total of about, if they're taking public transit, maybe about 2.5 hours to get into the city. But if you're driving, it should probably take only about 90 minutes or so. And then from Niagara Falls, things are a little bit further just because of traffic and distance. So if you were to go to Niagara Falls directly from Peterborough, it's probably a day trip. It would take you about 5 or so hours if you were taking public transit. We know students do it. Specifically, if you're in the Durham GTA campus, it's a little bit easier because, again, your proximity to Toronto and getting around. So those are our two campuses. I won't go too far into, I'll just do a quick little breakdown. There's lots of really good campus tour videos on our YouTube. So Trent University on YouTube, you'll find both the Durham GTA campus tour video as well as the Peterborough campus video. But just in the interest of time, I won't show them today. They're about 4 minutes long each. So in total, Trent University has about 12,000 students. Of that, there's approximately 2,000 international students. So a healthy amount of international students, not too many, not too little, but a very diverse background of students. Our Peterborough campus is the larger, we'll say more established because we've been here just a little bit longer. And it's a massive campus. So there's about 1,400 acres. The reason it's so big is because we have a conservation area directly on campus. It's a little bit removed from typically what the photos, but it is still accessible for the students. In this photo here, you'll see there's a river that flows through the heart of campus. And the bridge in the background is called the Ferry on Bridge. It connects both sides of the campus. And so there's a west bank of the river and an east bank of the river. And there's residences and academic buildings and cafeterias on either side. So there's life on either side. The West Bank is where I'm located and where our Champlain Hall and Great Hall and Trent International is located. So, and as well as our student center and library and athletic center. So most of the time that students will be on the campus will be spent on the West Bank. The East Bank has residences and academic buildings like the Chemical Science Building, the Physics Building, nursing, our teacher education classes are held there. So the East Bank is more, I would say, academic focused, whereas the West Bank has both academics as well as student centers and hangout spaces. Again, if you're interested in seeing these spaces, take a look at our Trent University YouTube. Maybe I'll put a few links in the chat later, and you can do a little bit more of your own research. But our next campus is our Durham GTA campus. It's smaller of the two. However, there's about 5 buildings across 2 different sites. For those of you who are familiar with Trent University, we have our main campus in Durham. There's 3 buildings there. And then we have another building in downtown Oshawa called our Advanced Learning Center. The Advanced Learning Center is home to our postgraduate certificate courses, as well as some of our Masters of Management courses too. But most of the students will spend most of their time at our main site. In total, the Durham campus has about 3,000 students, and it's in more of a metropolitan setting, meaning that it's in a bigger city that's connected to Toronto. So, like I mentioned, there's a bus that comes right onto campus that takes you to a train that takes you into the city, which would take you about 1 hour or so to do, which is very quick, coming directly from campus. So you're very well connected, whereas the Peterborough campus is, we would call it metropolitan rural or urban rural. Because it's just a little bit further removed. There's a long stretch of highway in between with some farmland. So that's just how we distinguish the two. But one of the best things about the Durham campus is its size. So you're very well networked, very close-knit community of academics and as well as personal. There's lots of things to do in the city. And I think I have one slide here about Durham GTA. It's Ontario's fastest growing region, and actually Canada's fastest growing region. The Durham GTA campus is very well situated. We have a lot of our postgraduate certificate courses that exist at our Durham GTA campus, and that's by design. We were asked by a lot of different companies and organizations to create very specific programs in AI and software development and computer science, because the Durham region is quickly becoming and as well as logistics and supply chain management, because we're getting a lot of warehouses, a lot of support as in terms of workers is needed in the Durham GTA area and specifically in Oshawa. For those of you who might or might not be familiar with Toronto as a city, it starts to sprawl out. It's very big and centralized, and it's been like that for the last 100 years. And as it gets bigger and let's say starts to expand, it expands further out, and Kitchener, where ApplyBoard is located, has felt a little bit of that on their side, and it's starting to expand a little bit more the GTA. I guess that would be west side, east side. So the started with Scarborough, then Pickering, then Whitby, then Ajax, and Whitby, Ajax, Pickering, and then now we're on to Oshawa. So it starts expanding further and further out. And so right now, and projected for the next 5 to 10 years, Oshawa is going to be one of the areas that is expanded with job opportunities, with housing opportunities, and lots of great services for students. So we're very well located, and particularly our programs are designed for the jobs that are going to be there in the next 2, 3, 4 years, which is really good for study visa processing, for everything. And we can get into that in a few more slides. But I just always like to highlight that the Durham region is very quickly expanding because of its affordability, because a lot of businesses are moving there to open up shop, multinational corporations that you would be familiar with. But I always like to talk about that because students like to think about institutions with the end in mind, and they think maybe Toronto is where all the opportunity is, but it's quickly changing as businesses start to see other markets expanding, and as people can only afford certain areas, the jobs move in and follow where the people are developed or are settling. So Trent University is one of Canada's top undergraduate institutions as ranked through Maclean's. There's a video here that I'm not going to play, but I'd like to just keep continuing on here. I'd like to talk about why Trent University. So students always Yeah, I've been working in this industry for many years, and I've worked and counseled many students on why Canada or why Ontario or why Trent University or why a particular high school. And Trent University has a lot of very unique features that other institutions can't. I'll give you what's called the USPs, the unique selling points, but it's always good to just really understand who Trent University is, what we are and what we aren't. We're not essentially trying to be a big metropolitan city located in the heart of Toronto. If students are looking for that type of experience, we're happy to have them join those institutions, but students should also understand, what they're getting when they come to Trent University. And definitely what they're getting is a really great university start to finish. So as soon as they're enrolling, from the minute they enroll to the minute they land their first job after graduating, they're being supported. One of the best parts about us being at maybe a smaller institution at about 12,000 students is that the access to these things is unprecedented. Anytime they want to speak with an academic advisor, anytime they need to meet with a professor, they're not in a lecture hall of 1,200 students. They're not in a lecture hall of even 800 students or 1,000 students or 500 students usually. Our biggest lecture hall is only about 320 students, and those are mostly the first year classes. So after that, they get a lot smaller, which means students have a lot of great access to everything that they could possibly want academically, research opportunities, part-time jobs, full-time jobs when they graduate, or full-time employment over the summer. So it's one of the great things about being at Trent University is that we get to know these students very well. There's a cliche that you're a name, not a number, and that's very true. So we use the student ID numbers, of course, to help students enroll. If you've helped students through the process, that's very important. But when they get to Trent University and they become familiar with myself or with Sabrina from Career Space or with any of the folks in athletics, or have any questions about anything, the people at Trent University are really great and helpful. And then, of course, we really do help our students get employed once they graduate. So 95% of our students are employed within 2 years of graduating. 92% report back that they would choose Trent again if they had the opportunity to relive the whole experience. Again, usually because there's a really good outcome towards the end of their opportunities. This is always a big one. So like I mentioned, the Durham region in particular is growing very quickly, but we've been graduating students for over 50 years, and particularly international students, as we know, have a different set of challenges when they're securing employment when they graduate. So if they're eligible, if they are PGWP eligible, we have career fairs. We have a full department that's dedicated to helping students get employment as well as co-op opportunities. That's called Career Space. Our Career Space is located on the third floor of our student center. Their only job at Trent University is to make sure that our students succeed when they graduate. And how they do this, they have career fairs 3 times throughout the year. So at the beginning of the year, when students are looking for part-time employment in September, we have a career fair. We do another one in the winter for the winter start students. And then we do another one around May for both the May start students as well as the students who are graduating. And those are employers come onto campus and they recruit our students. That's one of those things that was in contention over the last little bit. Is it's hard to find employment in Canada. It is for folks who are brand new to the country, and that's why we have these particular services to break down that barrier. If I were to move to Nigeria or if I were to move to Ghana, it probably would be a little bit difficult for me to find part-time employment. We're not disillusioned by that. We understand that it's very tricky to navigate the resume system, the application system in Canada for part-time employment or full-time employment. So our career space is dedicated to that, both for our domestic students as well as a separate set of skills for our international students. It's one of the first questions that I get asked all the time is, can I work on campus? Can I work off campus? And of course, separate to the IRCC immigration conversation, my answer to that is yes, usually, and we can help you do that. But we can only help you when you become a Trent University student. I can't help you students secure employment prior to arriving or even prior to registering, or if they send their tuition deposit. Typically, employers will hire when students are here on campus in September or in the winter. So I always like to just highlight part-time employment because I know that's a big point of contention for students. They definitely need to make sure that their finances are in order, and this is a way that they can ensure that they are meeting all the requirements to continue studying and meet their financial obligations. So I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but students would choose Trent again. And I always really like that stat because you look back at your own academic careers and think back, would I choose the same institution? And my answer to that is yes, because I had a really good experience at university, and I hope that other students do as well. And part of the reason that we're so good with our student services and as our student satisfaction is that we offer these really great services. So students come to Trent, they study in a 2-year postgraduate certificate program. That's a pretty short amount of time to really get settled and make sure that you're having a good experience. But if you secure good employment when you graduate, you're very likely to want to repeat that experience again if you had the opportunity. And so I think that's probably why students vote so highly in coming back if they had the opportunity. We make sure that the students are satisfied. It helps with retention. It helps with, again, I work a lot with agencies and our partners abroad. And it's an understated, very important point of working with students is if you recommend a student to a university or a college, you want to make sure they have a good experience in their second year as well as their first year, which we call retention, because they will call you in that second year, or they'll even call you in that first year and say, this isn't actually what was explained to me or what I thought it was going to be. I'd like to move institutions. And then you have a whole other set of challenges on your hands. So I always like to bring that up because most of the students that you send to us, an overwhelming majority of the students that you send to Trent University will have a good experience with us. And we make sure of that from the minute they start at orientation to the minute they graduate, they will be taken care of, however long that is. And here's just some of the places that our students end up working. You'll see big multinational corporations like 3M or Dell or Investors Group or Kellogg's, Starbucks. But more importantly, sometimes is you'll see smaller organizations, for example, Trent University or Gavro Law, a financial firm, your very local community oriented positions, companies with 10 to 15 or 50 people that you've never heard of. But yes, it's good. We send students to Amazon and American Express. That's wonderful. And congratulations to them. But I always just try to counsel or talk to students about the local community things that they'll find. So there's lots of small companies that you've never heard of that are growing very rapidly in the Durham region, small companies in Peterborough that you've never heard of, and having the ability to grow with a smaller organization provides students with really good opportunities to become key members within these organizations. So whether they're studying a postgraduate certificate in applied artificial intelligence and financial analytics, or they're doing the teacher education stream or nursing, there's always a really good outcome and really good hands-on experience for students that I'll talk about in a second. I'll get into a little bit of our programs. I'm going to just highlight a few programs. I'll do a time check here. Cool, 6:30. Okay, so I'll do just a highlight of a few of our programs. We've repackaged some of our programs. Trent University has over 100 different programs at the undergraduate level. So that can be a little bit confusing for students. When they open up our view book, they see all of the programs listed. It can be a little bit overwhelming. The way that we've started to package our institutional programs is through areas of study. You're at a fair and you're speaking to a student, and they come up to you and they say, I'm interested in studying. We want people to know now that we do have these areas of study so that if a student comes up to you, you can say, yes, very clearly, okay, you're not good at the sciences or you don't like the sciences. We have the arts and humanities programs for you. Or I want to study business, but I don't know which business. But we have that as an area of study. And then if you're using our website to navigate some of the programs, or if you're using our viewbook content or any of our content, you'll start to see this over the next few months. So it's usually something that you can click and then it'll list all of the programs. So for example, today I'll focus, I think I have business and computer science as a slide coming up. And so you'll see, okay, the student's interested in computer science or data science. Let's dive into that a little bit more. We can look at the programs, we can look at the admission requirements, we can look at the costs, because all of that computer, data science, and mathematics is going to be completely different than law and criminology, or a little bit different than law and criminology, for example. So areas of study is a new thing that we're talking about. It's very similar to areas of focus, or that's just another way of saying it. So let's just talk a little bit about our business program. I'll also talk about our postgraduate certificate programs in a bit. But for right now, it's always good to focus on our undergraduate market. I know that area is shrinking just a little bit or pulling back just a little bit, but we do like to focus on that. You'll see anything with the asterisks next to it, and a few others actually are paid co-ops. Trent University has over 25 different programs with co-op opportunities. Co-op is work integrated learning. Instead of having a traditional summer like students do, they have a co-op term. It's a paid work placement. It's guaranteed throughout the program. It's baked right into the program. Students will get a mark associated with their co-op term, of course, as well as earning at least over minimum wage. So most of our co-ops are skilled. If you're in accounting and you're taking a co-op program, then you're going to probably be making a little bit over minimum wage, which is really good for hourly wage for students. All of these programs are 4-year undergraduate degrees. Some of the postgraduate certificates are listed here, but I'll explain that in a little bit. All of these, of course, are up to 3-year PGWP eligible. Because they're 4-year honors degrees at a publicly funded university in Canada, they are eligible for up to a 3-year post-graduation work permit upon graduation. And the admissions is pretty straightforward for this. Students will typically need to have taken at least one math, which means different things in different countries. So if a student is in, let's say, India studying in the CBSE curriculum, they'll need to take what's called the maths or one Ontario virtual high school or Blythe online course that gives them one grade 12 math credential, and then whatever collection of courses that they have outside of that usually is fine for admissions. The minimum requirement right now is a 70% overall average. So that's usually on a 4.0, that'd be a 2.7 or a 2.8, but it's a 70% out of 100. So you can do your own translation depending on the curriculum that you're in. However, we do also have what's called degree progression pathway. So we will admit students on a lower GPA. We just give them a reduced course load to help them get ready and get integrated into university. So if they're between a 62 and a 60 or and a 70, they'll be admitted on degree progression pathway, which means they will start at Trent University like every other student. However, they might take, let's say, 3 or 4 courses, typically 4 courses to make sure that they have a full course load. And then maybe they'll take one online course over the summer prior to starting, just to give them like a little bit of a transition into Trent University. So that's a little bit about the programs and undergraduate programs, not undergraduate programs, but the business programs in particular. Let's move on to computer and data science. Again, I do travel quite a bit, so I understand that a lot of the international students are interested in these programs. But like I mentioned, we have over 100 different programs. So everywhere from nursing to ancient Greek and Roman studies, they can study. So just focus on the ones that students generally ask us about, which is business, computer, data science. I won't really touch on the biomedical sciences too much today, but we do have that program as a 4-year undergraduate degree. This is obviously a field that's very rapidly changing. We don't really need to explain that too much. It's changing pretty much at this point every month or every year in terms of career outcomes. So one of the great things about our program is that they're both researchers as well as people who work currently in the field who are teaching these courses. So they're really on the cutting edge of what's happening right now. It's not some institutional kind of stuffy program. These programs are fast, cutting edge programs. We have both in our business and our computer science access to really sophisticated technologies through like our Bloomberg terminals, which we're looking at here in this photo. So this is a computer lab. It's our digital innovation lab. We have about 12 Bloomberg terminals, which give people up-to-date insights on market analysis, real-time trading, and we have staff who are dedicated to actually teaching students on how to use these Bloomberg terminals, which is the same terminals that they use on Wall Street or Bay Street to make financial trades. So these things are very cutting edge. They're very expensive, so not every institution has them. We have these really great licenses to operate these programs. And so they're part of all of either the business or computer science programs because students need to have these skills to graduate job ready. Of course, we have the mathematical side of computer science or the data science, and then the more practical stuff like software development and artificial intelligence as a 4-year undergraduate degree. So if students are a little bit more theoretical, they have the opportunity to study those programs. But if they're interested in software or the hardware, we also have those programs as well. So again, with over 100 different programs, there's usually something that we can find for a student that is either exactly what they're looking for or right next to exactly what they're looking for. For our undergraduate programs, we do offer scholarships. I always talk about scholarships. We're one of the best institutions in Ontario, top 3 definitely in Ontario, probably at some points #1 for the amount of money that we give to students. So these are our guaranteed entrance scholarships. There's no application necessary. As soon as the student applies, they're automatically considered for our guaranteed entrance scholarships. If they have over an 80% average, they will receive money off the cost of their tuition. So right now for a 4-year undergraduate degree annually, students would spend about 34,000 Canadian, which again is on the lower side relative to, let's say, University of Toronto or University of Waterloo. That's about 65 or 70,000. So on top of being affordable at 34,000, we're also reducing that fee by way of scholarships and bursaries. This is one way that we're doing it. We also have what's called prestigious scholarships. I won't get into it too much today, but students can apply for additional scholarships. That's like a traditional scholarship application. It's 3 questions. Students record a video of themselves. They do a SOP or like a kind of a statement of purpose by way of video, and then we consider them for additional scholarship on top of the guaranteed entrance scholarship. So if you have a really keen student that's coming from a high school in Ghana and if they're receiving a 90% or 92, they get $2,500 automatically reduced. And then if you have them apply for the prestigious scholarships, they can get another 2,500 or 5,000 or 8,000. The scholarship at our prestigious level is actually quite impressive. We always encourage students to apply, even if they don't think they meet the requirements. It's not strictly academic for the prestigious scholarships, which means if they've done community involvement or community services, they can be considered for that scholarship. We do look at the academics, but they don't need to be ultra high achieving to receive additional scholarship funding. Last year, on average, we gave out $11,000 to our undergraduate students. That's on average. So you can think if we had a tuition of 33,000 last year, students were typically paying on average around 22 to 23,000 Canadian dollars for an undergraduate degree, which is amazing in terms of affordability for undergraduate students. Most of the students we understand now are interested in what's called postgraduate certificates or postgraduate studies. We have graduate studies at Trent University. I won't talk about them for the same reason that other institutions typically don't speak too much about their master's programs unless there's a graduate studies person there, because the admissions is a little bit trickier than our typical postgraduate certificates or our undergraduate programs. These are called our postgraduate certificates. If you've worked with Trent University in the past, you know that these are very good sellers internationally. So students who are maybe a little bit more mature or they've studied at an undergraduate university already, they don't really want to take a 4-year undergraduate degree, and that's fine. These postgraduate certificates are what I would call a step below a master's program, but only in terms of credential. What I mean by that is all of the programs that you see listed here are currently eligible for a post-graduation work permit, may be eligible for a post-graduation work permit up to 3 years. Even with the changes in the last year and a half in Canada, these programs remain eligible to be considered for the post-graduation work permit because they're CIP code aligned. So they have a direct labor market tied to them. Some of them are brand new this year. The only one that's not, the only one that we've had since 2024 intake is applied artificial intelligence and financial analytics. So we've introduced 6 new programs. In a time where a lot of institutions are pulling away programs and stripping away what they're offering, we're actually still increasing the program offerings that we have to help both support the community that we're in, because they've asked us to put in logistics and supply chain management courses so that they can have really qualified workers when they graduate. And then, of course, as a very rapidly expanding area, the Durham GTA area, they will need tech workers and digital marketing and health. And Canada in general needs health and wellness workers now. So these are the programs. There's 7 of them total. I won't talk about the specifics of all of them, but I can tell you generally, the admission requirements, all students need to do is apply using a 3 or 4-year undergraduate university degree. As long as they have the degree, there's no particular admission requirement for grade. So whether they have a 65 or a 95, students are eligible for admission as long as they have their degree. If they've graduated from their university, in a 3-year or a 4-year program, they're eligible for these programs. So that's admissions. They're all 2-year programs. The reason that they're all 2 years now is because it's a good use of our provincial attestation letters to admit students based off of a 2-year program and not a 1-year certificate, as well as it's better for the student as well. They graduate with a little bit more experience in an academic field. It allows them to be eligible to apply for a 3-year post-graduation work permit. So if you've worked with Trent University in the past, you know that we've had single certs, we used to call them, 1-year certificates. Students would often stack those on top of each other. So halfway through their first semester, they would apply for a 2nd-year certificate. So they would end up taking 2-year certificates anyways. That's why we only offer the dual certificate now, which is essentially what we're calling a 2-year certificate. It's 2 years truly. So it's not 16 months anymore. We used to do a 16-month accelerated one because that also graduated students to be eligible for the 3-year PGWP, but we don't have that anymore. Students have a summer, which is great for the student. It means they have a chance to work full-time, generate some funds, maybe go back home, see their family. They don't have to study 16 months straight anymore. They do 2 8-month chunks, and then they graduate and they're job ready. The postgraduate certificates have changed a little bit at Trent University, but they're still really good and unique offerings. Not many universities in Canada or specifically Ontario have these opportunities for students. So in certain ways, we compete with the colleges because they have 2-year diplomas and we have 2-year certificates that we graduate students with, but not many universities at our level have the certificates. So we're really unique in that way. One of the great things about our master's programs too, if a student receives an offer to a master's program, that's great. They can take the master's program. The cost of that is about 38,000 Canadian dollars a year. The postgraduate certificates are an alternative to the graduate studies. If a student is not successful in submitting their application to graduate studies, they'll get an alternate offer if they meet the requirements for the postgraduate certificates. These are much more affordable, I would say, than let's say even our undergraduate programs. So right now, the cost of our postgraduate certificate annually is about 24,000 Canadian dollars. Unfortunately, for the students who take these programs, there's no scholarship or bursary available because we've already essentially baked it into the total price. Because we keep the cost as low as we possibly can, we can't offer any additional funding for the postgraduate certificates. They're really short. They're only 2 years. So it's just 2 years of tuition, which means we don't really have the opportunity to scholarship students with either entrance scholarships or bursaries or returning scholarships or bursaries. Just one thing to keep in mind that it is the true cost, about 24,000 Canadian dollars. A lot of these programs are offered either at our Durham campus or our Peterborough campus. Yeah, it's just really good to know that we have these programs. I can get into specifics if anybody has questions, but I should keep this moving as I look at the time. All of our programs at Trent University have experiential opportunities, every single one of them. So whether the student's doing a paid co-op in an undergraduate program or an internship, community-based research, field school, or research, if they were doing an undergraduate research opportunity, that's what we call experiential education. That is actually what helps students get jobs because it allows them to network with both their academic colleagues, so the students that they're taking courses with, as well as people in their community who do the hiring. So all of our students, the real benefit of co-op, yes, students get paid while they are studying, but the real benefit of co-op is being hired after you graduate because companies have already invested training into you. They're familiar with how you work. So you've already networked yourself by taking our co-op. You've already networked yourself by taking our internship. So every single program has that opportunity, or it's a placement or it's a practicum. So if you're in teaching or nursing, it's already in the program. And if it's not, then there's an internship opportunity available. Then there's a co-op opportunity available. Specifically for the programs that the international students are taking, there's a lot of them available. So computer science, business, that whole area of study, that does have a lot of really good opportunities so that students can graduate job ready. We're becoming very globally recognized very quickly. We have 2 Nobel Prize winners that have either graduated from Trent University or are on staff. We have 5 Rhodes Scholars, 1 Canada Research Chair, and we're becoming very globally recognized with such a great international alumni network. And like I mentioned, here's some of our alumni network. You'll see Anita Erskine. She's a Ghanaian national. She's very popular in Ghana. She studied with Trent University, an undergraduate program. Jan Martel is a kind of a Canadian legend a little bit in terms of writing. He wrote Life of Pi. So there's the current CEO of OPG, which is one of the biggest businesses in Ontario, publicly funded businesses in Ontario, who's a Trent University alumni. So we have this really good network of alumni that pop up randomly throughout the world. But they always report back that we have them back to campus all the time. We do a CEO in residence program, we do alumni in residence too. So we bring them back quite often so that our students can learn and see themselves, hopefully, in the future. We've had students from over 175 different countries speaking 75 languages. You'll see the highlighted countries here in terms of where students come from all around the world, but our top sending countries, and that would be China, India, Nigeria, Ghana. Generally speaking, and Vietnam as well cracks the top 5 now, but that's generally where our students come from. But they come from everywhere. So Mexico, the US, everywhere in the world, there's been students that come to Trent University. And so I'll leave it at that. 6:52. So I have a few minutes for questions. I don't want to take up too much time, but I did see a few come through. So I'll keep my screen shared and I can go into the Q&A. So there's a question about application waiver fee. We would like to know about the first deposit required. Okay, so let me just answer some of these live. We would like to know about the first deposits required. We would like to know if MOI is acceptable for international students. Okay, so in terms of deposit, in order for students to receive their provincial attestation letter, they need to do 2 things. The first thing is accept their offer to Trent University. And the second thing is to submit the deposit on tuition. The deposit on tuition for all students is 2,500 Canadian dollars. So whether they're in a postgraduate certificate, an English as a second language program, or an undergraduate program, if they submit $2,500, that is the tuition deposit. Then they switch to registered as a Trent University student in our system, and we carry on as such. So there is soft deadlines for submitting the tuition deposit, but for international students, they're irrelevant because if our deadline for submitting a deposit for our September start is June 15th, if the student waits until June 15th to submit a deposit, then they're very unlikely to get their study visa in time. So that's one of the things that we attach deadlines to things, but we just tell students, do it as soon as possible, as soon as you're able to, because you're going to have to submit a study visa and that's going to take a lot of time. So we don't encourage students to wait until the deadline because it's not setting the student up for success. MOI, medium of instruction, is acceptable at Trent University for international students. So for those of you who may be unfamiliar, if you are somebody who studies in a, let's say, non-native English speaking country, MOI is accepted. If you've studied at an institution for over 3 years, English speaking, you can submit that. We do that at the point of admission. So when we send you the application acknowledgement and we encourage students to follow up with their credentials, that's when we request the MOI or the English language proficiency test. For those of you that don't know, we have this portal called the My Trent portal. You should be familiar with it if you're familiar with Trent University. You submit an application to Trent University, the application email that the student uses is the one that is given all that information. So whether they use their personal email or apply students email, they get all of the important information sent to their application email, including application acknowledgement, which is how they set up their My Trent portal, which is how they submit their transcripts and MOI documents, which is how they submit their scholarship applications and accept their offer to Trent University. So My Trent is very important. If you're counseling students on Trent University, they need to know about their My Trent portal. Let's see. Since you have completed an undergraduate program, you are eligible to apply for postgraduate programs regardless of your GPA. Is that? Yeah, good question. So if you've completed an undergraduate program internationally, as long as it's at a accredited institution, you can apply for our postgraduate certificates. There's no minimum requirement. So you just need to have graduated. If you graduated with a 55, if you graduated with a 65, 75, 85, it doesn't matter. You just need to have graduated. And of course, you also need to have your English language proficiency tests or MOI submitted to us. That's strictly for the postgraduate certificates. The master's programs have a very rigorous set of requirements. Our undergraduate programs also have a set of requirements. For postgraduate certificates, there's no minimum requirement. Okay, I'll keep going here. Does Trent University offer PhD programs? Yes, we do. I can't list them, unfortunately. I just don't know them all. We don't actively recruit for PhD programs. Master's programs, I can talk a little bit about master's programs. PhD programs are completely separate. As an international student, they have to be like on the cutting edge of a master's program. They have to do their own research. They have to reach out to a staff member that's willing to take them on. So the recruitment for PhD programs is completely different. So I don't ever counsel on PhD programs because they're so specific. The total amount of international students doing PhD programs is probably like anywhere from 10 to 15, but they never pass through Trent International because they're either handpicked by the professor or they've done their own kind of work to apply for a PhD program. It's very intricate. Any English proficiency waiver for Ghanaian students, typically Ghanaian students don't need the English language proficiency test because, at least for Trent University, because they've studied in English. So they'll usually submit some sort of MLI document that has that waived, if we even ask for it. Is higher national diploma accepted for certificate programs? There's a few different types of HNDs. If they're coming from Nigeria, no, it's not. They'll need to have an undergraduate degree topped up on the HND. We don't accept the HND by itself. What will you prefer, GIC or bank statement for visa processing? Visa processing, that's not what we do. I can't answer that question. That's typically for study visa related inquiries. So an RCIC would be better suited for that particular type of question. It means nothing for the university. We just need to know that there's proof of funds. We just need to be essentially, the funds need to be submitted to Trent University tuition wise. But in terms of setting up bank accounts in Canada, that's outside of the scope of what we do. Are undergraduate students eligible for PGWP? Yes. All 4-year programs, and I don't want to speak out of turn, all 4-year programs at Trent University are eligible for the post-graduation work permit, up to 3 years. What extra funds are needed on or before enrollment for postgraduate programs? Very good question. I'll answer this quickly. $2,500 for the deposit. The students just have to pay their tuition prior to starting the next semester. So typically students will pay either one lump payment in August, which is great. They can do that, then they don't have to worry about it. Or they can pay in, let's say, 3-month installments. They can pay in September, October, November, maybe even December as well, in equal installments. As long as they've paid their full balance prior to starting the next semester, we're okay with it. We set up, through student accounts, we set up payment plans. So we always want the student to indicate when they're going to be paying. It's not like they can just pay whenever they want. They do have to let us know. We're quite flexible with the way that students can pay, so they don't have to pay all up front. We do have an application fee waiver. I'll pass it out ad hoc. So maybe if there's a way that you can get in touch with me, I'd be happy to pass that off, but I can't do it. I can't just send it to the chat, but that's it for the questions. If there's any others, I can stick around for a few more minutes, but maybe Chad, it looks like you want to take over a little bit. Finally, hold on, one more. You said if HND is coming from Nigeria, it's not acceptable. What about Ghana? No HND. No, just HND. It needs to be topped up with something. I should have said West Africa, not just Nigeria. Okay, Chad, go ahead.
No, perfect. No, thank you very much, David, for the amazing presentation. It was very knowledgeable, and I appreciate your time. Before I let everyone go, I want to take an opportunity to highlight an exclusive opportunity available through ApplyBoard, our bonus on enrollment for our Learners to Earners campaign. For every student eligible, for every eligible student who applies through to Trent through ApplyBoard during the campaign that runs until April 12th, so plenty of time to put in applications, and successfully enrolls at Trent University, a $200 cash bonus will be awarded. So terms and conditions do apply. Please, any questions, please send it our way and we'll be able to answer it for you. But again, I wanted to thank everyone for attending the session today. And again, thank you again, David, for presenting on Trent. It was amazing. I hope everyone has a fantastic rest of their day, evening, and our next session is coming up very soon. So thank you very much, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.